Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Bette McCarthy, the chair of the Old Kings Highway Committee, and I'd like to call the meeting to order. And to all persons deemed interested or affected by the Town of Barnstable Old Kings Highway Historic District Act under Section 9 of Chapter 470 Acts of 1973 as amended, you are hereby notified of a hearing that will be held tonight on the applications listed on the agenda for April 26, 2023. We'd like to remind all applicants and audience members that we are an elected volunteer committee following the guidelines of the Town of Barnstable Old Kings Highway Historic District Act. Any applicant or interested party who's aggrieved by the decision of this committee, they have the right to appeal the decision to the Old Kings Highway Regional Historic District Commission. We ask that during this evening's proceedings, cell phones be turned off and conversations other than those before the committee take place outside this remote meeting. When an applicant is called, we ask the applicant and interested parties and abutters to please identify themselves. Lastly, as a best practice for meetings held remotely, where we may not be able to visually identify who's speaking, we ask that all committee members and participants to identify themselves before making any comments or motions. Members and participants wishing to online audience members wishing to participate during the public comment section of a hearing can use the raised hand button to notify the chair. Dial-in audience members wishing to participate during the public comment section of a hearing should press *9 on their phone to notify the chair. All participants will be muted and you must be recognized by the chair to participate. Our first order of business is going to be to take a roll call attendance. So we'll begin with George Jessup. This George apparently is not present. Leslie Wallace.
Here.
Ryan Caholen. Wendy Shaw.
Here.
And myself, Bette McCarthy. All right. Our first order of business is a continued application, and that's for Eileen Elias, 42 Packet Landing Way, West Barnstable, map 179, parcel 004, built in 1962, to install 7.6 kilowatt panels, will not exceed roof panels, but will add 6 inches of roof height and 19 panels in total. The applicant has asked for a continuance for this application. So may I have a motion that we continue this application to our next meeting, which would be May 10th, 2023.
Sure. This is Wendy Shuck, and I move to continue the certificate of appropriateness application for Eileen Elias, 42 Packet Landing Way, West Barnstable, map 179, parcel 004, built 1962, to the May 10th meeting at 6:30 p.m. to be held remotely.
And may we have a second for this?
Leslie Wallace, I'll second.
All right, all in favor, please indicate your approval. Let's see, Wendy Shuck.
Aye.
And Leslie Wallace.
Aye.
And Bette McCarthy, aye. So the continued application is approved. Our next application is for Kenneth Antonimi, 247 High Street, West Barnstable, map 111, parcel 016. And that was built in 1935 to install a rooftop mounted photovoltaic solar energy system consisting of 22 solar panels, 2 solar arrays on the east and west facing panel planes, black panels with a matte finish. And is the applicant available to discuss, or their representative to discuss this continued application?
Yes, hi, this is Steve Kelly from Sunrun. And last meeting, we brought forward the panels, and it looks like the picture on the left has the 2 panels up high, that lower picture. But we've squared off both arrays so that they are rectangles.
Okay. Is there any committee discussion regarding this?
Can I see the pictures again? I'm kind of confused. So now they're rectangles. The exact same
Correct. There was-
thing on either side.
One is actually 1 panel longer. There are 10 on one side and 12 on the other.
What's
But,
the one? Okay,
but we removed the 2 panels that were sitting alone on top of a rectangle.
yeah,
and
okay.
moved those
Yes,
down.
I remember. Yeah.
There's not a whole lot we can do with this building. It's facing, the ridge is perpendicular to the street, so there's really not any way to hide them.
Yeah. So you got rid of 2 panels.
No, we actually moved them down and made the panels, the array number 2 panels longer.
Okay,
So it's the same count, panel count, and I'm assuming same or very similar production.
Yeah.
okay.
And this is Wendy Shuck. So this one is a tough one for me. It's a historic home. It has a light colored roof. It's on a busy road. But I appreciate that, you've made this adjustment. I think your options are actually pretty limited here, on the roof. So, thank you for making that adjustment. I do think it's better.
No, thank you.
Okay. I know the committee and we favor having the solar panels array in a perfect rectangle, and you've adjusted the application in order to do that. So again, it isn't a perfect situation, but in consideration for the environment and climate, I think this is fine with me. Is there any public comment? Is there anybody in the waiting room to discuss this?
Chair, this is Kate Maldonado. At this time, I'm not seeing any members of the public raising their hand. Please do so if you would like to speak to this item, though. Okay, not seeing any.
You don't see anyone. All right.
Nope. Not for.
Well, in that case, may we have a motion to accept this continued application?
Yes, this is Wendy Shuck, and I move to approve the certificate of appropriateness.
Point of order, if I may, we should first close the public hearing.
Okay. All right. Since there is
Right.
there's no members of the public wishing to make comments, may we have a motion to close the public hearing?
Yes, this is Wendy Shuck, and I move to close the public hearing.
All right.
Leslie Wallace, I'll second.
Great.
And may we have a roll call vote on that?
Yes, This is Wendy Shuck, and I move to approve the certificate of appropriateness application for Kenneth Itnemini.
Point of order, apologize. We just need a roll call
Oh,
vote on
sorry.
the,
On,
it's
on
okay.
closing. Yeah.
Yeah, that if you can just take a roll call vote, we have the seconds. We just need a vote that we all agree to close the public hearing.
Okay. May we have a roll call vote to close the public comment section?
Aye.
Wendy
Yes.
Aye. Leslie
and
Wallace.
I.
Yeah.
So the public comment section is closed. And so now we need a motion to accept the application.
Yes, third time is a charm here, folks. So this is Wendy Shuck, and I move to approve the certificate of appropriateness application for Kenneth Itnemini, 247 High Street, West Barnstable, map 111, parcel 016, built 1935, as submitted.
Okay.
Leslie
And may
Wallace.
we have a second?
I'll second Leslie Wallace.
Okay. And we have a roll call vote on that. Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
and Beth McCarthy, aye. So that application is approved as adjusted and submitted. Our next application is also a continued application, and that is for Douglas Mercer, 16 Harvey Avenue, Barnstable, map 318, parcel 020, built in 1945 to install 9.2 solar panels on the kilowatt solar panels on the roof. Will not exceed the roof panel, but will add 6 inches to the roof height. The total number of solar panels were not listed, and this owner has this applicant has asked for a continuation. So may we have a motion to continue this application?
Sure, this is Wendy Shuck, and I move to continue the certificate of appropriateness for Douglas Mercer, 6 Harvey Way, Barnstable, map 318, parcel 020, built 1945, to the May 10th hearing at 6:30 p.m. to be held remotely.
All right, and may we have a roll call vote on, let's see, a second
Leslie
first,
Wallace, I second that.
and then may we have a roll call vote on that? Wendy,
Aye.
Shuck, Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
and Beth McCarthy, aye. So that application is continued until our May 10th meeting. The next application is for Deborah McManus, 2876 Main Street, Barnstable, map 278, parcel 011, built in 1895, to remove the existing railing, to add a stair railing and new baluster railings, repair the front stairs with new risers, expand the columns from 6 to 8 or 10 inches, and to replace the corner boards. All right, may we have a motion to open the public meeting?
Yes, this is Wendy Shuck, and I move to open the public hearing.
Leslie Wallace, I'll second that.
And a roll call vote on that. Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
Leslie,
Aye.
and Beth McCarthy, aye. So is the applicant available to make a presentation on that? Deborah McManus?
If I may, Deborah, I believe that you may be on mute right now.
Better?
Yep, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, man.
Deb, I'm
Oops.
sorry. I'm just going to suggest that you turn your video off because it seems like you're having a bandwidth
I'm
issue.
sorry.
No, it's fine. I just want them to be able to hear you. So If you turn your camera off, the audio will come through clear.
Did we lose her?
I'm not sure what happened with Deb. It looks like her camera and her audio is now not connected. Deb, if you can hear me, if you want to try logging out and logging back in, that might help you fix your problem that you're having.
Sarah, this is Kate. Are you having any luck with coordinating with Deb, or should we continue to the next item and return if Deb is able to join?
I would go to the next item. She did try to log back in, and I hit admit, but she wasn't able to connect. I think she's just having an internet connection issue. So if you want to move forward, and we'll see if we can get her back on.
Oh,
Oh, here she is. So let's see if this works.
Okay.
So should we take the next application and wait for Deborah McManus to reconnect?
I do see that Deb is on, but I can't tell if her audio is connecting. Deb, if you can hear us, if you can try talking so we can confirm.
She's connecting her audio now, so just let's
There we
give it a
Okay.
second.
Okay, and I'm going to share my screen with the materials.
I think Deborah is muted.
I'm sorry, am I unmuted now? Can you
There
hear
she
me?
is.
yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Uh-oh.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, I'm not moving my phone. I'm not moving. I am terribly sorry. Please forgive me. Okay, did you? Can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Sorry. Would you like me to answer any questions?
Can you move it down?
If I may, can you, I have the materials that you've submitted on the screen. If you can walk the committee through your submission, and then we can walk through the process of review.
Okay. What I am doing is on the front of the house, I have submitted a picture of what the house used to look like. That's the, when it was being built. And the next picture is the railing that I would like to submit. That's what I would like to put onto the house. So I wanted to go back to the original railing that's there. But I think because of code, I may need to put a railing down on the steps because it's above 4 steps. I think there's something that a railing, and that's the railing I would like to put in there. Probably put cannonballs on the top of that, as in the picture. I just
Okay. And-
like looks.
And can you describe the material for the railing that you're putting in?
It's going to be composite that that I'm hoping to use there on the corner boards and on the stair risers and the railing itself. So it'll be composite. Which is, I think I have the veranda railing there. I have that little diagram. It will be about 8 to 10 feet. I think there'll be about 8. It'll be be about 4 sections. Let me count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, be 5 sections, 6 or 8 sections of the 10-foot railing or 8-foot railing, whichever fits there. That will go on to the to make up the railing. I want to also put, just as in the picture, put some composite around the columns that are there to make it look to the original like it is there, so it's similar.
Can you bring the pictures up?
Yeah, I don't, yeah, but yeah, they should be there. Yep.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Yep, that's the one I'm talking about in
Yeah.
reference. So I want to make all that railing the same with the cannonballs. I want to put a railing going down the stairs for safety issues. I don't know it. If I
Right.
don't, need it, I won't put it on, but I think I need it because of safety. I'm not so sure.
Yes.
Now, would it be the same look as your railing up above, that type of a look, like the bottom would have the balls on it, or what would that look like?
Yes, I'm going to try and get the cannonballs. I did find them. At first, I was going to put just the flat cap that you see in the pictures there that's also been submitted. But then I found that I can get the cannonballs as well.
Yeah.
So
Good.
that's what I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
And then where the shingling is, I can't do the shingling. I wanted to just bump that out, and I don't know what size it actually is until I get it bumped out. It's 6 inches now, but I think it needs to be 8 or 10 inches to make it have that look.
I
have
mean,
to
the
sort of-
columns.
The columns,
Yeah,
correct.
okay.
And that'll be, yep, and that will be plain white composite, like 1x8s or 1x10s.
Yep.
And then the risers on the stairs, which is a little bit difficult to see, it's red fir on the deck, so the steps will be red fir, and then the white will be composite risers.
Yep.
And the corner boards, which are not on this picture, but on my more recent picture of my home, has the corner boards, which I would like that to be composite as well.
Okay.
Which it looks, yeah.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for me?
Wendy, do you have any questions regarding?
Just not questions so much as comments. I really appreciate having those pictures of, your home 100 years ago. That's very helpful
Yeah.
for us. And I do think that the work that you want to do more closely resembles the original look of the house, which I think is great. I don't have any objections to the materials. And I think what you have submitted is appropriate.
Thank you.
All
I'm a
right.
very, can't wait for
And,
it to make that. I'm sorry.
And
go ahead.
Leslie, do you have any other
I-
comments?
Yep, I think the columns a bit bigger would be better. Thank you. And I like the balls too. Of course, is that politically correct? Well, anyway, I like the balls.
Thank you.
And if the railing matches that, I'm all for it. I think yes, absolutely.
It's gonna be like it's the best that I can do to get it as close to that railing as I can, the
Yep.
one that's there.
Yep,
Thank you.
And as far as my comments are concerned, I think it's great to make the building look more like it did originally. And I think the materials will be fine, and the cannonballs will be quite attractive. So I don't know if there's any comment. Is there anybody in the waiting room, any neighbors, or anybody wanting to discuss these changes?
Chair, it does look like the
sorry.
resident has unmuted. If you can just state your name for the record.
I'm sorry, Kate, if you're speaking to me, you have paused.
It looks like a member, some attendee of this meeting named resident with an S symbol for their Zoom logo. It looked like you just unmuted. Are you here to present public comment for this item? Chair, this is Kate Maldonato. I'm not seeing anyone raise their hand or actively try to speak for public comment for this.
Okay, well, in that case, may we have a motion to approve the application for Deborah McManus?
Right. I think we need to close the hearing, right?
All right, we'll
yeah.
close the public hearing.
This
May
is
we have a
Wendy-
motion to close the public hearing?
Yes, this is Wendy Shuck, and I move to close the public hearing.
Leslie Wallace, second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
If
Okay,
I may, if we can take roll call since it's via
Roll
Zoom.
call
just need to
vote,
say
all
their
right.
names. Thank you.
Wendy,
Aye.
Leslie,
Aye.
and I also aye. So the public comment is closed. May we have a motion to accept this application?
Sure. This is Wendy Shuck, and I move to approve the certificate of appropriateness application for Deborah McManus, 2876 Main Street, Barnstable, map 279, parcel 011, built 1895, as submitted with two modifications. One is the cannonballs on top of the fence, and also potentially a stair railing if required under the building code.
All right, and we have a second
Leslie Wallace, I'll second.
and a roll call vote. Wendy,
Aye.
Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
and I also approve. So this application is approved as submitted with the additional changes. All right. Our next item is for Richard Sunderland, 970 Main Street, West Barnstable, map 156, parcel 026, built in 1960, to remove the existing chimney and to install a new exhaust chimney for the paint booth. May we open a public hearing for this application.
Yes, this is Wendy Shuck, and I move to open the public hearing.
Leslie Wallace, I'll second.
And a roll call vote. Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
Leslie Lawless,
Aye.
and I also approve that. So, Mr. Sunderland, would you like to discuss your application for the removal of the chimney?
Sure. Oh, there you go. Basically, the chimney that exists is a block and brick chimney that used to be the exhaust for a wood stove, actually, to heat the body shop, which was fairly dangerous, I guess. So it's no longer of any use. So I figured that I would use that location to put the exhaust chimney for the spray booth, which is a requirement now of the DEP to have this, the exhaust from the spray booth has to either be 35 feet from the ground or 10 feet above the top of the building or the ridge of the building. So, and then it also has a requirement to move the air through the chimney fast enough at a certain speed. So it's a velocity, not a CFM, if you're familiar, cubic feet per minute, so much as it is a speed, so that it brings it well up into the air. So it will be unlikely that anybody would get the any odor or smell from that. And then, of course, there's modern filters at the entrance to the system. But I guess if you're looking at the map there, it's drawn so that you can see, yeah, right there. The only part that you'll see, that's the internal part that'll be inside the building all the way up to the ridge where that brick chimney came out. And then that'll just be a 17-inch round pipe. And I was thinking, so it's galvanized metal. So I was thinking that we would paint it possibly like maybe a bluish gray, so it'll hopefully sort of disappear as much as possible, rather than being shiny, galvanized color, if you will. Something that will not be so much of an eye catcher because of the the height requirements pretty good, 10 feet, probably 3 times the brick chimney, and I guess that's about it.
Okay. As far as committee comments, Leslie?
Well, I mean, it's a business. He has to do it, so I'm all right with that.
Okay, Wendy?
Yeah, 10 feet is huge. I think. I think that existing chimney is what, like maybe 3 or 4 feet. Is that
Right. So 3 times what the brick is, sure.
Yeah. And is there no option to put that like in the back somewhere so it isn't quite so prominent?
So the problem with that would be, supporting it. And so, yeah, somebody said,
Yeah.
can't you make it look like a tree? So, so I don't know about that, but, so being, the way being a steel pipe or metal pipe as it is, it would probably possibly require, I'm not sure yet. There is no general contractor that you call up to have this done, because it's not that frequent that it's done. So it took a little research to find out who knows what about it. So if it was somehow out in the back lot or something, I don't know how you'd pipe it
Yeah.
pipe it to it and then get it and then have it go. At that point, you wouldn't have the roof, so you'd have to go 35 feet, which this should be, I didn't measure the roof exactly, but this will be about 4 feet shorter, at least 4 feet shorter than it would be if it's not on the roof. So that's a tough one. And I did ask them, I mean, maybe it's possible, I guess I could talk to the DEP more, and they told me that they've had circumstances where they put these things in very congested areas, and depending on taller buildings, which we don't have there,
Right.
sometimes they put these things in and it swirls around another building. So then they'll potentially do tests to see what they need to do to get so I don't know whether I could ask them politely if I could see if 5 feet would do the job, because that's one of the requirements, is that the air travels through the pipe at 40 feet per second. So which brings it, I wouldn't know accurately, but probably another 10 or 15 feet before it disperses, unless it was extremely windy. I guess that could change. But so I don't know if they pretty much said, when I talked to them, I asked them these kind of things, and they said, well, this is the requirement. This is what you have to do. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I could ask again. I understand completely. I'd rather see it not quite so tall or at all. Nobody's complained in 75 years, and now there's complaining. So, and it can only be smelled. Nobody can smell the thing at all unless the wind blows out of the east, which is about 6 or 8 times a year. So unfortunately, even at what it is, it's a huge expense for a few days.
Yeah.
But
And
anyways.
and I thought like, and I'm not suggesting this is what you do, but if it was bricked over, but even that would be like a 10-foot brick chimney I'm not sure that would, number one, it's even feasible and probably expensive, and I'm not sure aesthetically if that would really get us anywhere.
Right, it would still, I thought of that as well. I mean,
Yeah.
I know there's
I'm sure.
some chimneys, some houses out on North Shore, and they're all 20 feet tall, so, and it looks appropriate because the house is 300 feet long. But, the only thinking I could suggest is, I did think that somehow I could paint it a color that wouldn't grab your eye when you're driving down the street necessarily. And I mean, if you look right at it, you're probably going to see it.
Right.
Right.
So it's a tough one. I mean, they're kind of saying this, you have to do it in order,
Right.
it's their requirement, but
Yeah,
And your
I don't
other
know.
option,
I feel the same way.
yeah, and your other option, you said it was like 35 feet off the ground, was that it?
Yeah, so if it isn't off the peak of the roof,
Yeah.
it has to be 35 feet from the ground level up.
Yeah.
So the building is a little over 20 maybe,
Yeah.
and then so
That won't work, yeah.
that would be, so I don't know, unless I can come up with some other idea. I mean, I would venture to guess if it was 5 feet tall, it would probably, when the wind blows out of the east, it would probably go up and towards the cemetery, basically, and it would probably do the job. I mean, only thing I could say is I could ask the DEP if they were willing to experiment. I mean, they do that. They actually, they come out and when something, have it running and see what you can smell in different areas, and they actually do that. But honestly, I don't think they're going to agree to it. But so I don't know. I don't know where that
Well,
leaves me.
might be worth asking, right? The worst
yeah, I was
they'll do
gonna
is
say,
no.
maybe we
Yeah.
could continue it, ask them about the 5 feet, but if I was a neighbor, I wouldn't want to smell. So that's the first thing.
Right. I think there
Right.
are some environmental issues here, and I think that, and in addition to the aesthetics of it, again, it is a commercial area. So I'm not sure how long. I think the present chimney is in disrepair, and it's dangerous, and it needs to be addressed pretty soon. I don't know how long it would take. Is it possible to approve what you have shown us for this evening, and then try to make a change for the future? Is it possible to do that?
You mean, so potentially, so they're very anxious that I get this done because I think that the DEP gets
Right.
communicated with regularly, whether there's any odor or not. So,
Right,
unfortunately, so, I mean, I could do my best to see if they'll reduce the height and do a test. In the event that they refuse, I guess, then we'd be where we're at, but I absolutely would be willing to. I mean, I brought it up. I didn't bring it up in depth. I can certainly bring it up a little differently, because I can say that the historic people are concerned about the height, and the fact that I know that they're willing to test, to see whether even at 10 feet, whether it works or not, or, however they do that. I'd certainly be willing to try to get them to reduce the height.
Maybe that we continue it?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
but this,
If we continue it, we'll be in a situation where the DEP will, they want to see that, maybe the continuance will be okay with them, but they said that this needs to go up, and it needs to go
Right.
up soon, or they're going to do a daily fine or something. So just so you know, they're anxious.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, and I also believe that the building inspector is concerned about the present condition of the chimney. So
You mean the
What-
brick one?
what if we conditionally approve this? Is that a possibility? That it's conditionally approved, that as submitted, with the understanding that you get information from the Environmental Protection Agency regarding a change. So I
The
don't know
height change.
what the financial impact of that would be.
Or is the issue taking down the brick chimney? I mean, can that be taken down? Like,
Well,
yeah.
that was my intention, only because the brick chimney is never going to be used.
Right,
So, but the brick chimney isn't in any immediate danger of collapsing, but it would
Yeah.
be, it's adjacent to the paint shop, so it's a perfect place. It just takes up space. And it would be a smart thing to do to take that down, only because we need to put another one up. And the location's good for it, so.
right. So if we were to do a continuance, that would be 2 weeks. Do you think that the DEP that would be too long for them?
Oh, I think 2 weeks is reasonable. I didn't know how quickly these things go.
Because we could continue, for the next meeting, which would be 2 weeks from tonight.
Yeah, why don't there's a person there I've been communicating with, Heather at the DEP, and I can say, look, this is a struggle with the height. And if we could certainly build this thing and say go 4 feet, and then if it had to go higher, it wouldn't be like we'd need to take down what we put up. It would
Right.
just be in addition to.
Continuation, yeah.
So it won't be, heartbreaking to add on if I had to. And certainly if 4 or 5 feet does the job, I would expect that they would be okay with it. But it's just not in their rules, as
Right.
that's not their requirement. It's
Right.
Right,
more, so I don't know where that'll go, but in 2 weeks I'll know.
Okay.
Yeah, the next meeting, Rick, is May 10th.
Okay. I
And
get
you can
your,
be put on that one, get your information, and then you'll be all set.
yeah,
yep, I got your schedule right here in front of me, so May 10th. And in the meantime, I'll talk to them and see what I can possibly
right,
Yeah.
Yeah,
get talking into.
Yeah.
All right,
all right. And
Fair enough.
again, this is, in addition to aesthetics, there is an environmental issue here. And we need to conform and make sure that that's,
Yeah.
yeah, the current requirement for the filtration is being used and will be used in this system. So
all right,
we'll have the appropriate filters.
all right.
Is that what you mean? As far as,
We would continue it for 2 weeks. And hopefully you would get a decision from the Environmental Protection Agency within that time.
yeah,
And then we could address whatever the situation would be in 2 weeks.
okay, fair enough.
Is there any public comment regarding this? Yes,
Yes.
Gordon?
Thank you, Ms. McCarthy. My question is to Mr. Sunderland. Is there an exhaust fan now where you, in the business?
Yeah, so the existing exhaust fan is adequate and the
Yep.
filters being used are correct. They've been inspected and checked and the right, they have specific filters that remove
Sure.
these certain particles, and that's being used. So, but it's used the way most body shops have always been. It just flows straight out the back of the building.
Has anyone ever complained about any smell from the building?
Never until the current residents to my west,
Okay.
northwest.
Okay.
And they were aware that they were buying a house next to a body shop, so I don't know how the.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to keep in mind that this is a commercial zoned
Hmm.
business. And it's been there since what?
75
1960?
years,
Yeah, okay.
long time.
So it seems like DEP isn't very good at changing their mind. I mean, if they have a 10-foot limit, that's what they're going to ask for.
I
I would
have
rather
a
see-
feeling you're right.
I would rather see the committee approve, say, 5 feet, and then come back in 2 weeks and Rick can see what happens in between. But at least to get something approved, I don't know, in between. And that and maybe you could help Mr. Sunderland work out a color that would make it disappear. I don't know.
Yeah.
If you can think of one, that would be great.
Invisible
Depends on
paint, right?
Depends on the weather that day, I
Oh,
guess.
right, exactly.
Maybe we can rotate it.
Okay,
As another consideration is, could you possibly put something around this pipe, a wooden structure, so that we wouldn't see a metal pipe?
Well,
So the pipe would be there, but then you would have a wooden structure surrounding it.
yeah, well, my thought there was, I thought about it, and I know that you can buy, or they have available a panel, some types of panels that look like brick, but I'm not sure that 17-foot square chimney 10 feet high is gonna Wendy Shuck had said, I mean, it probably would be more noticeable, I think. I thought about that. I mean, that would be something dark and red and whatever it is. It would be, I think it would be more noticeable. I have a feeling if I get a grayish blue going on that pipe that you're gonna see it if you look at it, but I don't think you're gonna maybe take away from the drive down 6A, whoever might be making that drive and looking at, historic 6A, they're probably not gonna notice it.
Right.
I think, that's my own opinion, of course. I don't, but I feel your pain. It's like, or I'm feeling the pain too, but it's really unfortunate that it's gonna be so tall, I think.
Well, it's a business. I mean, that's how it goes. You have to keep the business going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Right.
between a rock and a hard place, I guess,
Yep.
as that goes. But, as Gordon said, he probably is more familiar with the DEP's ability to agree to things. I mean, I'm just saying it because the woman that I talked to seemed like she'd work with anything, but then again, they're pretty sharp on their rules, like if we bend this rule, the next person's gonna want a shorter one, probably kind of thinking, I guess,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
So,
But I could try.
Yeah.
I haven't really pushed the envelope. I can really work, the fact that it is, the old Kings Highway is what it is, and
Right.
it bend a little bit, but I don't know.
Kate, question for you. So if instead of doing it a continuance, we were to do what Gordon suggested and approve it, with modifications, and if it didn't fly, so that means Richard would have to come back, right, and submit another application, is that right?
Yes, so, and if I make this look like the resident has raised their hand to
Oh, okay.
raise
Yeah.
public comment,
Yeah.
but it does seem like you need more information to make a decision. So at that, I'd recommend a continuance to obtain all the information through this public hearing,
Right.
close the public hearing and make a decision. It seems like Mr. Sunderland is saying within the 2 weeks, he would have a final determination. Otherwise, you could make a decision tonight and maybe it could come forward as a minor modification. But I think it seems like you need more information to make your decision. But certainly I can't speak on behalf of you. So it would be up
Right.
to your vote to determine
Yeah.
what process you want to take. But as mentioned, I do see that the resident has their hand
Yes.
raised.
Yep.
So if you can just note who you are for the record.
Sure. Hi, my name is Samantha Gray, and I'm the neighbor that Mr. Sunderland has been saying has been complaining. I live directly next door. Historic, integrity is really important to me. That's why I chose to live in West Barnstable. But environmental quality is even more important. And I support the 10-foot pipe. Living next door to it, I not only smell the fumes, I taste the fumes. I mean,
Oh.
it settles into our yard. Even with the filters, coming out the back, it's bad. And so I'm really hoping that the coming into compliance, because they've been not in compliance with the spray booth and the chimney, but by doing this, they'd be in compliance. And I really, I'm hopeful that that will just solve the issue. So I'm in favor of the 10-foot pipe. I know it's going to be ugly and not historic, but it will make the difference for them to do what they do at that shop.
Oh,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much for
Yeah.
your comment.
That's very important to know. Thank you.
Yes. All right. Shall we close the public comment?
Yes. This is Wendy Shuck, and I move to close the public hearing.
All right.
Oh, second,
have a-
Leslie Wallace. Sorry.
And a roll call vote. Wendy,
Aye.
Leslie,
Aye.
and I also aye. So our option is to continue this application until our next meeting on May 10th, so that in the interim, Mr. Sunderland can reach out to the environmental organization to see if there's any modification, and whatever that decision would be, we would make at the next meeting. So
Beth, may I say something?
yes,
Look, I'm sorry, but the gal that lives next door, you know, she has to live here, so I take what she says very seriously. When Rick corresponds with the DEP or whatever the hell he's gotta, whatever it is, would you ask them, would there be a big difference between a 5-foot or a 10-foot? Because if she can get fumes and it's at a 5-foot, I think we have to consider that, because, you know, she's gotta live there. If she doesn't mind and she's pretty close, then, you know, I would go with the 10-foot if it helped the situation. But maybe Rick could ask, would there be a big difference between a 5-foot if they okayed it, or the 10-foot as far as air quality and fumes?
okay. So we have a motion to continue this for our next meeting. And we will, in the meantime, we can investigate and find out the proper, and if it has to be at the next meeting, we can decide what the best, what the most proper thing is to do environmentally first and then aesthetically second. So may we have a motion to
Chair.
continue this?
Point of order, so we should make a motion to keep the public hearing open because you're going to obtain more information at the next meeting. So if we're doing a continuation, let's make a motion to first keep that public hearing open. We'd only
Okay.
close the public hearing if we were going to make a determination this evening.
Okay, all
And
right,
it sounds like the committee is leaning to continue the item. So if the committee is leaning towards to continue, let's open the public hearing so we can continue the item.
I'll make a motion, Bet. Yeah. So this is Wendy Shuck, and I move to reopen the public hearing.
Leslie Wallace, second.
and a roll call vote. Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
and I also agree, so that the public comment is continued. And then now we need a motion to
We just,
continue this application to our May 10th meeting.
Sure. This is Wendy Shuck, and I move to continue the certificate of appropriateness application for Richard Sunderland, 970 Main Street, West Barnstable, map 156, parcel 026, built 1960, until May 10th at 6:30 p.m. at a meeting that will be held remotely.
This is Leslie
Okay.
Wallace, I second.
And a roll call vote. Wendy,
Aye.
Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
and Beth McCarthy, aye. So this application is continued to our next meeting on May 10th, 2023. There are no minor modifications to address this evening. There are no extensions either. And the minutes are not ready for us to approve. So I think the next item is to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Okay. This
They
is
would have a second for that.
Leslie Wallace, I'll second.
And I need a motion first.
Yeah, I was waiting for it.
So this is Wendy Shuck, and I move to adjourn today's meeting Wednesday, April 26, 2023.
I second Leslie Wallace.
And all in favor, roll call vote. Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
and Vet McCarthy, aye. So our meeting is adjourned until our next meeting on May 10th